not many people like exercising, right? They don't like it because, you got to exert a lot of energy. It might be painful, right? But what's at the other end of it, right? You get results. Now, if you do it consistently, put yourself under pain, you're going to either lose weight, you're going to put on muscle. Do you see what I mean? So it's the same sort of thing with putting yourself under pressure. You put yourself under pressure, slowly, you're going to start seeing the results of that.
Influencing the thinking of billions of people every year. They are the thought leaders, educators, and extroverts. Meet the minds behind the microphones, the experts who share from the stage, encouraging us to think differently, do more, and ultimately strive to succeed. Welcome to the hashtag Keynote Speaker Show. Here's your host, Jonathan Creek. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 4 times Australian memory champion, 3 times best-selling author, keynote speaker, curator of TEDx Docklands, and my very good friend, Tansel Ali. Tansel, welcome to the show.
Mate, thanks for having me on.
A little round of applause for you there. Do you like that?
Oh, it's a good job. Good stuff.
Tansel, how are you?
Great, man. Great. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. I love getting up early and getting stuff done in this time. It's just so easy to sort of ease up a bit in these moments. But I do like getting up early and getting stuff up and going. Shows like this. How about yourself?
Yeah, stuff is good, man. Good to get done, especially in this day and age. I've been getting used to sleeping in, so getting up early for this one took a bit more of an effort, but we got there in the end.
I motivated you. Is that what I did?
Oh, look, I'm always up anyway early, but just for the lockdown, I've been testing out the waters, sleeping in a bit. So just when I got sort of used to that, getting back up to the early stage, it makes it a bit more of a challenge, but I'm up for it.
Good. Let's see what happens by the end of the day, whether you've achieved more or less. That'll be the test, right?
Definitely.
Because you've got all those people out there, like I've got friends of mine now that are getting up at 5 a.m. They go and do a 10, 15-minute workout, a bit of breakfast, and then they work from 6 till 9. Then they have a break, and then they've just got these crazy schedules, and then they turn their phones off at 6. Yeah, there's all these things, but I think personally, you just got to find what works for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Tansel, welcome to hashtag Keynote Speaker. This is where we get to know the people behind the microphone, and you've been keynote speaking for a long, long time. In fact, you were the guy that pushed me into keynote speaking, and you didn't have to push very hard, but you certainly gave me the boost or the foot up the tush that I needed to go and do it, because I remember you saying to me, I think we were at a cafe at Federation Square, and I think you said, Creaky, once you start doing this, you'll love it. And I wasn't sure, but I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. And you're right, I love it.
Mate, and look at you now.
Yeah, got my own show.
That's it. You've done extremely well.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. It's just a shame this COVID's popped in because things were really picking up, but I'm sure they'll bounce back and there'll be opportunities, and I get to do more episodes like this and connect with people. But yeah, it's strange times.
Yeah, no, it is strange times, but you're right. It's what you make of it. I mean, I've done online speaking engagements, and that can be just as exciting. Obviously you don't get that people-to-people interaction, but people still get the message, right? So you're still passing on, what you're wanting to pass on and help as many people as you can. So what you're doing now is just as exciting.
So just tell us about that. Oh, hold on, I've got a little bit of a issue with the camera here. Hold on, what has happened here? I've pushed a button and it hasn't worked. I'm back. So tell us about that, Tansel, and your remote speaking. Like, how different is it, and how hard are you finding it?
Look, I mean, I've done a lot of remote training before. So I've worked in organizations where I was in, e-learning trainer and, just more in terms of an IT trainer. So I've been doing it for years and years and years. So for me, it wasn't anything new, to be honest. Like to be able to train people without even seeing them on the screen. I mean, that for me, that almost felt like, oh yeah, back to my old training days. So I didn't really feel that much. But I know for a fact that other people are finding it difficult because you don't get that personal interaction, the engagement, the body language, all that sort of stuff. So it can be a bit of a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, I find, and look, I'm only early in my speaking career, but I really bounce off the crowd. I'll find someone who's either a bit of a doubting Thomas or is distracted, and then I sort of play on them a little bit, and then I find the people who are truly engaged, and I sort of draw them in to sort of bring the herd along. Um, and as you would know, Tansel, because you were the guy who got me on the TED stage, and despite you having a big red dot of carpet, someone didn't want to stay on it very well and liked walking up and down. And this room that I'm in right now, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I can walk about 1 meter this way and about 2 meters that way, and I'll bump into the walls. So I'm not sure how I'd go if I had to keynote. I might have to do it on my phone so I can walk around my backyard. I like to walk when I talk.
Well, you've got the AirPods, haven't you? So, walk around and do that stuff because that's how I am as well. But, I do have these wired headsets now. So when I'm training, I can't move anywhere. So I've gotten used to that now.
Well, what's really interesting is I went up to, and this was essential service, by the way, if the government's listening in.
Of
I went up,
course.
I went up and got my kids new headphones for homeschooling, and I got them wireless headphones, and the youngest one now just lives in them, and she'll have her friends on the iPad somewhere in the corner, and she can go around the whole house. And basically, we've lost our youngest. She's just gone off into the Ethernet of wireless headphones. She thinks they're the greatest things ever. And yeah, look, if they bring a smile to her face at this time when she can't be with her friends at school, then so be it. We'll fix it
That's
later.
it. Great investment. Great use of essential time as well. So,
Yeah. So, Tansel, tell us about your journey to the speaker stage. Let's go right back to Tansel as a kid. Where'd you come from?
oh man, Paran. What do you want me to say? I guess as a kid, I was always into sports. So I loved footy, loved basketball, tennis. So I played a lot of sport. Hence, I was always competitive. I wasn't the greatest sports person. Like my friends were always better, but I'd have a lot of fun. And we'd run around the block, just timing each other, saying how long it took around the roundabout, or how long it took from run one block to the other. Or we'd even do shorter distances like 2 meters. Who could run the fastest in 2 meters? So we did little things like that. And I think that sort of spurred me on at school and everything else that I did to become this competitive beast or whatever you want to call it. So, and I guess that's where it sort of started.
The
And then,
Paran
yeah,
Olympics.
the Paralympics. That's where it started, and I played soccer and played a bit of basketball at school, even though I wasn't tall enough, and it still did really well. So, it's I guess it was more just enjoyment and fun of things that essentially led me to what I'm doing today.
So, from those days in Paran, and we're talking about Paran being an inner suburb of Melbourne. So, from those days in Paran, and let's be with it. You're a Muslim guy from a Muslim family. There wouldn't have been um, too many Muslim families around. What in the 80s in Paran?
There was heaps.
Oh, was it? You had a little pocket.
Oh, well, we had a whole community
Well,
of people, and in Paran we had a mosque to pray in, and my house was right across the mosque.
oh, wow,
So,
prime time.
I'd be in and out, and we'd have in the community center we have a billiard table, a pool table, and I was only what 6, 7 years old at the time, just watching people, and as I sort of grew a bit older, I was like the pool champion when I was about 10, 11 years old. I'd beat guys that were older than me,
The
about in their
hustler.
30s, 40s. I was a gun, and people would go out of there, in frustration, throwing cues and balls away because this 12-year-old would come and beat them. So,
Yeah.
it was quite fun, but massive community there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Apologies. I didn't realize that. Um, so from there, where did memory come into it? When did you fall in love with memory, and why?
It's funny, I never really fell in love with memory. It's even now when you have to try and memorize something, it's like, oh no, not again. It was more of a challenge, I guess, because I always thought I've got had a shocking memory. I always used to say that. I've got a shocking memory. I never believed in it. I was a big skeptic. And then a friend of mine came up to me and said, Tansel, I can remember 40 random objects, back to front, whatever order. And I thought, well, surely you can't do that. That's not really possible. And so I had to test him out. And then I tested him out, and surely enough, he memorized everything. And from then on, it sort of piqued my interest. I go, wow, how does this work? And there was a really powerful tool back then, right? It was called Google, right? If you go to google.com, it still exists. Amazing, right? And I typed in memory techniques. And surely enough, there was websites dedicated to remembering stuff. And then so I started reading, researching, and then just built up my knowledge from there. And then I entered, the memory competitions, and thinking I'd come last, I ended up coming second in Australia. And then all these TV shows got a hold of us, thinking, oh, look at these memory gurus and freaks, and then just really snowballed from there. Nothing really special. I still didn't have the greatest memory, but I was just executing the techniques, and that's all it was, really.
You said then that the media then got hold of you. That's when we bumped into each other, because you'd gone out and done something pretty crazy for Yellow Pages. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this was, so I started 2002, and 8 years later, a PR company contacted me, and they said, look, they wanted me to memorize the phone book, right? 2 Yellow Pages phone books. And I'm like, yeah, right. Which idiot's going to do that? And turned out to be me, right? Funny enough. So anyway, I did the calculations in my head, and I thought, hang on, is this even feasible? Can I do it? Right? So I had to look at, and there was over 2,000 ads I had to memorize, and multiply that by 10 digits. And you get like 20,000 digits to memorize, right? So I had to do the calculations and think, okay, if it normally takes me about 2 seconds to memorize 10 digits, right, in competition, I have to give myself the maximum amount of time to really slow down and memorize. So I gave myself 30 seconds for each ad. And because I did that, uh, it was possible to memorize in the 30 days they gave me to memorize in. So, wrote an email back saying, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then that essentially brought it back on, and they sent me the 2 phone books, which took 6 days to come. So I really had 24 days to memorize it in. And then all I did was, just execute, 60, ads per day, a few times a day. And by the end of 18 days, I'd memorized it, and then spent another 6 days revising. And there you go, memorize the whole phone book.
That's incredible. I find it stunning that you didn't have a Yellow Pages at home, because they just chuck those on your doorstep left, right, and centre, even when you don't want.
It was a Sydney one, Sydney Yellow Pages, which was twice as thick as the Melbourne ones.
You must be pretty devastated then that that your greatest party trick has now evaporated, because no one has phone books anymore. So when you go to parties, you can't pull them out and memorize them and joke with people. You got to come up with a new party trick.
Well, it's online, man. You just get your phone out and say, here you go. What's Bob's Plumbing? Bang. Away you go.
So that was what connected us, and led to your books. You've got 3 books. The first one was an ebook, which I think clocked over 6 figures, 100,000 copies, massive effort. And that was when ebooks weren't even, Kindles and things like that weren't even really that popular, if even around. And then you've got 2 published books, which is a great honor as well. Something that I'm still yet to achieve, but fighting hard.
You will, mate. You will. You'll get there. But the books were interesting because I never saw myself as a writer. My writing was really bad at school, even at university. And I was told to go seek grammar experts and all that sort of stuff. So it was quite terrible. But the good thing about published books is that you've got an editor, right? So I could write as crap as I want, and the editor would make it nice and beautiful, and I'd read it and go, wow, this is awesome. You're going to make me look like a great writer. So that was good. That was good. I mean, the first book that I did was more, it was actually PowerPoint slides, believe it or not, because I thought, if I'm going to do a book, I'm going to make a visual, because the brain encodes in images, right? If you're just looking at words, it's going to be more difficult to encode, hence be engaged by it. So I made a visual, and because of that reason, it really took off. I guess that's how that sort of happened as well.
So when did you start? When did you start? Oh, it's not the corona, is it?
No, no.
When did you start hitting the stage? And what was it about the stage that attracted you? Because at the moment you're telling me you weren't very good at sport, but you loved it and you went for it. You weren't very good at memory, but you became four-time Australian memory champion. You weren't very good at writing, but you've become a three-time published author. And I bet you're about to tell me right now that you're not a very good keynote speaker, yet you've been on stage for probably 10 to 8 years.
Yeah, no, that's spot on, man. You know me too well. Look, the stage started when I used to play in a band. So I used to be a guitarist in a heavy metal band. I was about 18 at the time, and the band members were 15. So I was driving them around everywhere, right? Chauffeuring and putting all these drum kits in my car
What
and
was the band
amps and
called?
we were called Hexen. So it used to be a video game. So the bass player came up with the name from the video game years ago. But we'd be touring around sort of more local areas and playing. And I used to absolutely love the stage because I was sharing my music creations. I'd write and create all the music, and it was exhilarating. I used to love the stage. So I guess same thing when I got on stage when speaking. It was like being on stage when I was playing guitar. It's like, man, I'm familiar to this. This is awesome. So when I'm on that stage, it's almost like, footy, they have the white line fever. As soon as I cross that white line, it's like a different person, right? So I felt like that, essentially. And look, it wasn't always easy going. Obviously, keynote speaking is a real big challenge when you first start out. And I had a lot of challenges. And yeah, I was not very good. And look, I'll probably say that now that I'm not very good because I'm more of an educator. So when I get up and speak now, I try and educate rather than speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, yeah, and that's not a bad thing because there's a lot of people. Look, I think I'm one. I like to educate a little bit, but I'm out there to entertain. And you know, every time that I tell a story, I truly believe it's only ever a story if there's a lesson. So
Mm.
I get up on stage and I tell a story with lessons, um, but I want to entertain people. And I think you're right. Keynote speaking is probably as close as non-athletes get to game day, like an auctioneer, probably a
Mm.
real estate agent.
Yeah, yeah, spot on. And it is about entertainment because when you look at it, right, with education, you have to encode stuff like information and data. That takes a lot of energy, right? So that's why a lot of people struggle when learning. They have to go through that extra process, whereas entertainment, that almost happens automatically. Our brain craves it because the music, whether it's that or whether it's something visual, whether it's stories, we don't have to encode it as much, right? It's already we can take that on board easily. So that's why being an entertaining speaker, that's what you should be striving for, not just giving information or teaching a lesson or anything like that. So you hit the nail on the head there when you said, you're trying to entertain people. That's what it should be first and foremost, because that's how you're going to grab their attention. And a really well-crafted story, that's what's going to connect with people.
Yeah, I think there is that formula of you got to grab their attention, then you got to lock it. You got to lock their attention on you by engaging the brain in a story, which is really an instinctive shift that someone
Mm,
sitting in an audience may not even know that it's happening. And then once you have their attention, you can switch them over to what I call the feeling brain, and then deliver the lesson, which gives them the moment of, okay, yeah, that's a breakthrough, and I'm into this, and I can use it, a
mm.
belief in a way. So tell us about the stages you've spoken on, because you have, well, in the days when we could get on airplanes, um, traveled the world. There's a world map on the wall behind me, and you've been to most of those countries to speak. Tell us about all the places you've been and some of those experiences. Any scary ones? Any entertaining ones?
Yeah, I guess the scary one, gee, going to Iran. So I was invited to speak in Iran and talk about stress management using memory techniques. So 1,000 people in a room. And as I arrived in Iran, I've got a chronic illness, all right, called Crohn's disease. So if you haven't heard of it, it's an inflammatory bowel illness. And one of the symptoms is getting extreme pain internally. It's like your intestines are being twisted
Mm.
and you're in extreme pain. And on the flight there, from Australia to Iran. It's quite a few hours, and the whole way I was in pain. So I was flown first class all the way up there, best food, best everything. Didn't touch anything, didn't eat anything. I was in extreme pain, and then 2 days later, I had to deliver to 1,000 people. So really, really challenging. And just when I got to the airport, I'm in extreme pain. The first thing that I just want to go to the hotel and, take medication or whatever it is and just dim down this pain because it's absolutely killing me, right? So after a long journey, go to the airport, hail a taxi, and I was about an hour and a half away from the hotel. I said, okay, I'll just try and sleep off the pain or whatever it is. Anyway, I'm in the taxi, and this dude he's got phone in one hand, he's biting the nails with the other hand, right? And he's going 160 k's an hour in an 80k zone, right? So from time to time, he might steer the car,
Okay.
right? So I'm absolutely freaking out, and he's driving on the lane, not, in the middle of the lanes, but actually on it with his high beams on, and he's,
it's not.
going through cars like that. So I'm there freaking out in pain, thinking I'm going to die any minute now, right? I might as well read whatever prayers I know. I think I read them over and over like 100 times. It was the most horrifying, I can't even say horrifying moment, horrifying 1.5 hours of my life. And once I arrived at the hotel, energy was all spent anyway. So, man, some times there traveling overseas.
It is amazing. Like we talk about bad drivers here in Australia. Like, it's almost a national tradition to complain about bad drivers. But when you go overseas, some countries it's just the Wild West. And the road tolls must be horrific. They just don't count them.
I did a mistake by looking at the road mortality rate as I did my research in Iran, which I shouldn't have, and it scared the crap out of me. So when I went in that taxi, it made it even worse, right? So as we were traveling throughout the day anyway with the other speakers, we actually did get into an accident. So, mind you, we were going 10 k's an hour, but it still happened. And when I came back to Melbourne, I thought, well, there's people not giving way, not indicating. I'm like, this is nothing now. I'm used to it. This is great. Like, go ahead, go in front of me, So it gave me a lot more appreciation, I guess, for the road rules here in Melbourne, definitely.
I just want to explore the thought pattern of someone who's going to a foreign country and decides, rather than trying to work out where the fun parks are and the beaches and the great tourist sites are, you're there reading up on the road toll.
Man, yeah, because you've got perceptions of going to a country like that. You think, oh, man, is it going to be dangerous and whatnot? But it turned out it was one of the best countries because, speaking wise, the venues were absolutely amazing. People were so beautiful. The food was outstanding, amazing food. And thinking, wow, this is Tehran, Iran. This is quite, extraordinary where we're at. So, traveling around as a speaker really has its benefits because a lot of places are, you hear bad things, but whenever you travel there, it's not as bad as what it's supposed to be. And I have been fortunate to go to a lot of these places, and not just resorts and exotic locations, but to places that are very small and not such a huge amount of people in there, but the surroundings and the location is quite breathtaking. So I have a deep appreciation for that, and I'm grateful for those opportunities to, be that traveling speaker and experience those elements. Yeah.
I'm more of the type of guy that doesn't like to know that stuff. You know what I mean? I'd rather not know the risks. So, I remember taking my wife to Thailand for our honeymoon, and it was in the middle of SARS, which is probably as close to what we're going through now. We just said, no, we're going. And, if I'd known the road toll then, I ended up doing a story many years later on a group called the Road Angels of Bangkok. Basically, Bangkok's got an incredible road toll fatality, and there's no service or no government service to pick up fatalities. So there's these volunteers who drive around and basically pick up the injured and the hurt. And And yeah, that told me the road toll in Bangkok. And if I'd known that at the time, and that was the same, driving around in those little tuk-tuks and, squeezing through gaps that weren't there. And it's like, it's all right, mate. I don't mind if I'm 5 minutes late to the hotel. I'm here for 3 to 4 weeks. Let's just relax. I want to get there alive. But yeah, it's interesting. But you've also spoken all the way through Asia, Australia. You've done Pause Fest. You've done TED. What's left for you on the speaking circuit?
Yeah, for me, it's not about what's left, I guess. It's about just passing the same message on, really, of, anyone being able to learn these techniques and use them to help them with whatever they want to do. So whether it's if they want to learn something, whether they want to compete better as an athlete, competitor, whether they want to be able to learn languages or speak without any notes, confidently. It's stuff like that that I'm interested in. So it's not so much for me, essentially. It's more about, well, let's just get this out there. And that's why I've been doing a lot of YouTube videos lately and, recording stuff, because I've got a lot of written stuff out there, as you know, in books and all that, but there's not much video or photos or whatever there is. So that's what I'm focused on. As you know, I do organize a TED, and that's more so to get other people's voices heard as well, because like me, there are others out there that are trying their damnedest just to make sure that people are benefiting from what they're doing. And we don't come across all of them, and we probably never will, but it's events like TED that make it happen. So, and that's why I sort of use that as a platform to get people like yourself, and amazing people like Rick Rushton and Tiffany Hall and those types of people that have been doing something that not many people know of, to get out there and voice that concern or the message so that more people can benefit.
Finbar.
Finbar, definitely.
What an interesting cat.
He's amazing,
Yeah.
Amazing individual.
And I know that you two have a love of guitars and music, so you should start a band.
Yeah, it's I mean, once
you
have
call it Finbar Ali. That'd be a good name for a band.
Finbarley. There you
Bali.
Go. We could be in Bali.
He watches the show, Finbar. He's been a guest. He watches. So let's see if we can get that band together. Maybe just a one-off somewhere when lockdown's done, or a virtual music. There you go.
We can do. Well, all the musicians are doing it now, so yeah, who knows? Maybe we can do something there.
Now let's explore the brain, Tansel. Actually, before we go, have you got the custom URL for your YouTube? So it's youtube.com/Tansel Ali.
Yeah, it's like a .c/Tansel Ali or whatever it is, but I don't know. Usually I just give the link and it's got all these characters in there. So, people search on the Tansel Ali, they'll probably find me there anyway.
Well, let's just put it out. I'm pretty sure it's Tansel Ali, but if not, I'm going to help you get a custom URL by the end of today to make sure that you lock your name away and be the one and only. But I'm pretty sure if you go to YouTube and search Tansel Ali, Mr. Memory comes up. Mr. ABC on the weekend. You're on ABC TV on the weekend.
Yeah, that was funny. I just turned the TV on. I saw my face. I'm like, what the hell? This is unexpected. So I called the kids over. Quick, come. And, no one came. so I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I'm like, oh, damn, man, I'm doing this for you. Enjoy it. So, yeah. So I had to turn it off, I guess. And, yeah.
That's on iView too, if you want to watch it, guys. What was the show called, Tansel?
Show's called Get It Together. So it's where I think they had like 12 episodes, and each episode has a resident expert, and I was a resident memory expert, and they have teams. So, I have to train the team on a particular task, and if they do really well, they get into a final and essentially fight it out from there. So I guess people watching could watch the show to see how my team went instead of me giving the answer.
No spoilers here.
No spoilers.
No spoilers here. Now, Tansel, let's get into the brain, because I think with the circumstances that we're in with COVID-19, all the political tension that's around, uncertainty, the unknown, people losing jobs, companies like Virgin going broke overnight or going into administration, it's a pretty stressful time, and it all starts in the brain, right?
Yeah.
And the brain better than most. How can people deal with this better? What are some things they can do, or how does the brain work, and how do you control it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not an expert on the brain. I just know it from a memory perspective, I guess, and what makes things memorable. And I guess what happens is the brain tells stories, as you know, right? And the stories is what's really, really important. If you're watching bad news all the time, or if you're seeing and narrating bad stories in your head, well, guess what's going to happen? Bad things are going to show up more and more, and you're going to start feeling crap. If you start feeding your brain more positive stuff, then that's what's going to happen. Now, it's easy to say, yeah, just think more positively and you'll be fine, or create more positive stories, right? When the whole world's essentially in lockdown, right? So it's about looking at things like opportunity or changing the story in your head. So instead of saying, well, we can't go out, well, it's like, well, what exciting things can I do at home? I'm seeing a lot of memes on the internet and funny videos, and people are doing vodcasts like you are. So people are making you know most of their time. But I always say to people, look, you don't have to try and be productive, or you don't have to try and make the most of your time. You could use this time to purely relax, right? Meditate, sleep in, do whatever you need to do to essentially ease off what's going on in the world, because a lot of people think, oh no, I have to be busy, 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 busy. Well, this could be the time where you're not busy, where you're relaxed, right? Now, obviously, that's easy to say if you're depending on, income coming in and you've lost your job and things like that. It's hard to relax, right? So again, the stories we need to tell ourselves is, well, what else can we do, to make things happen? How can we survive? Well, we're in survival mode, right? So it's just little things like that. There's no one answer, is the way that I see it. But if we can, work on things that we enjoy, have a bit of a laugh, um, be patient, because I look at, wife and kids now, and they test your memory. I mean, they test your, not just your memory, but they test you, right? So the trick is to be really mindful. Mindfulness is key in this time, because if you're cognizant, if you're aware of what's going on, you could sort of take a step back and go, okay, I'm going to relax here, because I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to scream. This is happening obviously because of such and such. I'm just going to not say anything, So learning to hold back as well, instead of just going all out, because I can guarantee there'll be people eating at each other at the moment. There'll be people that will be aware of this, that are exercising. There'll be people out there struggling with it. So everything will be happening all at once. It's like a quantum field. So I guess the thing that I say is being mindful is probably the most important thing, because if you're mindful of what's going on, then you can start adjusting how you view these things, because it's not normal. This isn't normal, right? Last time this happened was like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So, let's just hang in there for the time being. Let's be patient and mindful, and see where it takes us, because that's going to give us some more skills in the long run. It could be resilience, could be further survival techniques, right? Could be a lesson in happiness. Like, can you stay happy in this time, right? So there's a lot of learnings and lessons, and who knows, we might get the lesson maybe years later instead of during the lockdown. So yeah, I guess that's, there's no one answer, but I think from my perspective, that's how I see it anyway.
So when you say mindful, is that like just being aware of the situation and checking yourself to not be emotionally reactive? Just be aware of that. Yeah, people are gonna be on edge. Yeah, I've got in this house. I've got 3 classrooms running in 3 different rooms on 3 different timetables. If one's noisy when the other's on, there's this sort of awareness. And I've sort of been working around this house as almost like I'm the tech support controller and I'm checking on everyone. And rather than really driving my business, I'm like, I've just got to get my family through um, unscathed in a way, or in the best possible shape. Is that what you mean by mindful? Just being aware, sort of take a step back, don't be emotionally reactive if you can, and just sort of calm everything back a bit, slow everything down?
Well, think about it this way, right? A lot of the things we do is, I won't say mindless, right? We just do it automatically. Like, for example, like eating. We could just eat, and if we eat so fast, we don't even realize we're eating what we're eating or the taste of it, right?
Yeah.
Used to happen with me in dessert. I used to polish it off so quick that it's like, oh, what did I eat again? Oh, that, right? But if we're eating slowly, if we're mindful if we're, taking that one taste and then reflecting on it, getting the, the feeling, the sensation, all of that stuff. What's happening is that we're exaggerating the feeling and we're understanding it and appreciating it more. So if we do the same thing with things that are automatic, so for example, it could be sitting down watching TV or just getting on our computer or on our phone, right? Now, if we're more mindful of that, we're going to ask the question, well, why am I on my phone now? What am I really doing? Should I be on my phone when I'm talking to my wife in front of me, right? Should I be watching TV when the kids are there trying to study? Or, it's just really being aware, like you said, but asking more questions while you're while you're doing the activity,
Okay.
right? I find that really helps because it gets you in that mode of, okay, prioritization. Is this really necessary? Is it necessary to sit down on my ass for many, many hours, right? Is it necessary for me in this lockdown to exercise, right? What would that look like? If I'm doing tech support, which I was doing late last night, how far do I need to go,
Yeah.
before I lose my sanity type of thing. So it's being mindful of all those things. And yes, you can get a bit overdoing it, but it's just the more questions you ask, the more answers you'll get, right? So that's how I see it. So that awareness really has to lift, I think, anyway, to keep that sanity.
Now, Tansel just gave the example of, should I be on my phone while I'm talking to my wife? For those of you who are watching, take it from someone who's been married for 17 years. The answer is no. It's just plain and simple. Don't be on your phone and talking to your wife at the same time. It never really goes well, does it, Tansel?
Oh, she can do it. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
She does it.
yeah. I'm not
It's
one.
okay
No,
when they do it.
let's just look after our own
Um,
backyards here, mate. Let's not get into that world. That's. But you're right. Yes, it's
yeah,
just us.
but I mean, it's scientifically proven anyway that women can multitask, right? Whereas guys, we need that one thing to do really, really well. So
Do it and do it well, and then move to the
that's
next
it.
thing. Get that to-do list. Um, so the power of memory. I mean, you must be able to apply it in so many different ways. How's it changed your life?
Good question. Look, I guess I was always confident, but I think it took confidence to another level without being too egotistical, if that makes sense. So now I was able to, I mean, I went back and did two master's degrees because I thought I could, because I know the better learning strategies. So I achieved that. I got up to speak. I mean, I was a terrible speaker, right? But it made me want to go out and speak and spread this message out to people. So did that. I mean, I wrote books. I'd never write anything, right? And suddenly now I'm writing books. So it's given me the ability to realize that I've got potential here. I can do something with this skill. So that's what it gave me. It gave me the ability to seek further things, further exciting things, because now I can do them, right? And it also gave me the understanding that there's a technique for everything out there, right? There's a technique for everything. It's not like I'm bad at cooking, nah, I'll never do it. Well, learn the skills because you can do it, right? And it's the same thing with speaking. It's a learned thing. You're not just born being an awesome speaker. In fact, a lot of those top speakers always mention that you go back and look at, how they were first speaking. They weren't the greatest speaker, right? So they've learned, they taught themselves along the way. And the best speakers are ones that have learned, that have spent the money, that have invested in themselves, and did the hard yards to be the speaker they are today. So it's not just the automatically you've got this enthusiasm and you're ready to go. No. So it's just about being excited to see where you can go once you've learned these strategies. So that's what memory has done for me. It's given me the ability to just move forward in life to other exciting areas, and I think I'll just keep doing that. Yeah.
That's an interesting point. That to do memory the way that you've done it, it must have been uncomfortable. Sitting there and spending 30 days or 24 days memorizing two phone books. Sure, the PR company would have put some money in your bank account, but that's like going back and studying year 12 exams. I mean, that's the last thing anyone wants to be doing. So it's about, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. We hear that saying a lot. But I presume that's what it is. It's about push yourself as far as you can. And maybe this is a good time to do that, because it's almost like the world's been reset at the moment.
Yeah, I always look at the exercise example, right? If you're exercising, not many people like exercising, right? They don't like it because, you got to exert a lot of energy. It might be painful, right? But what's at the other end of it, right? You get results. Now, if you do it consistently, put yourself under pain, you're going to either lose weight, you're going to put on muscle. Do you see what I mean? So it's the same sort of thing with putting yourself under pressure. You put yourself under pressure, slowly, you're going to start seeing the results of that, right? So that's where I see. I mean, my grandparents were a great example of that, and people that I look up to because they came here with nothing from overseas back in 1970 and really worked their asses off. They'd be working 16-hour shifts. My grandfather would come home, and then my grandmother would go and do her 16 hours or whatever. So they barely even saw each other, at home. So it's just that work ethic and, making sure that you do what you need to do to not just survive, but thrive as well. So, and I think that's where my mentality goes back to is it's not just being able to do what you can do, but, you want to really have an impact. Not just on yourself, but other people as well. So I guess that's what I try and do and take lessons from.
Yeah, I think there's going to be I think there's going to be some I think there's going to be some. I don't want to say it's going to be good, but I just think it's going to be. I think there's going to be some positives coming out of this in the long run. Things like, my family's here. They're working from here. They're working from home. I'm getting to spend more time with my family. I get to see more of my family. I think the teachers are getting to know the families better because, you walk into a room and there's a teacher dealing with your kid and they're getting greater insights into the family dynamic. So I think the family school relationship's going to be better. I don't work in a corporate business, but I presume it's going to be the same. The bosses are going to get to know the partners better rather than just once a year at the Christmas party, if they even have Christmas parties anymore. People are, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in many elements, I think people have become more caring of each other or more respectful and aware of each other. And that, my kids here are making sure that the elderly neighbours in the street, have got everything they need without having to go to the supermarket. And we'll get it for them because they don't want to have, they're too scared to go out in case they catch it. So I think society will change, and I think, it's terrible. There's some terrible things that, people are going to die. That's just, horrible. But I think there will be a silver lining for some people. I think that's the best way to say it. I don't want to be disingenuous here and downplay it, but and I think people will hopefully use this time to concentrate more on their mental health and become more self-aware.
Absolutely. I think, it is true. People will. There'll always be the opposite as well, unfortunately. But what an opportunity. Imagine 20 years down the track, 30 years, whenever it is, and your kids have got their kids and they say to you, Pa, what were you doing during the great pandemic of 2020, during the coronavirus? And, you could, tell them, look them in the eye and say, look, this is what I built, during the pandemic. It all started during this time. Look at your parents now, look at the future you've created. So you could essentially, future pace this and go, this is what I'm going to do to really create that legacy, or here's what I'm going to do to kickstart my career, or this is what I'm going to do to really build myself up. Yes, not everyone's in that situation, but man, what an opportunity to say, man, I'm going to use this time to do whatever I can so that when I look back, it's going to be a proud moment, or it's going to be something that I could say I didn't waste my time. I didn't sleep until whatever time and, just watch Netflix or whatever it is. I went and, did this or did that and, benefited from it. So that's the way that I see it. I look at it like, football preseason, right? Football players do their preseason before the season starts just so they can get into the right fitness, the right regimen, the right eating patterns, all of that. And when the season starts, they just execute playing the footy right because physically and mentally they're fit. So that's how I see this as. It's just a big, long pre-season of getting yourself right. Once you do that and then things start, kicking into gear work-wise, you're going to be way ahead of a lot of people. I can guarantee that. And you'll look back and saying all that hard work and effort that I put in, all that struggle, it has really paid off. And I really believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting is that, I struggled a little bit with this pandemic when it hit because things were taking off and then all of a sudden everything just parked and that takes an effect. And rather than just ignoring it and smiling and moving on, I went, you know what? I need a few days to mope about this because, I'm disappointed. And I'm going to acknowledge that I'm disappointed and I'm going to be a bit of a sook. And I was a bit of a sook, but I set myself a date when I was going to stop sooking and move on. And what I did is I 48 hours of sooking. Then it was my birthday. I said, I'm not going to be a sook on my birthday. And then I want to take a day where I just sit outside and plan. And I think there's a Facebook post where it was like, I had to get out my ideas book, which I always have next to me, and it can take me anywhere. In fact, there's 2 ideas inspired by you in there too. And I've had that book for 10 years. And so I just sat there and just wrote down where am I going? What am I going to do? How can I do things? And I look in that book and I turn back 3 pages from where I was. And here's the whole mind map for my online course, which I've already been running for 18 months. And I haven't run this year in 2020. And it's all about how people can get better at communicating with video. And they're going, why aren't I thinking about it? This is exactly what people need. This is how I can help. And so that's what's going to happen. We'll get that course wound back up again. There are people who are still struggling how to even set up an online course.
Yeah.
So you got to think about the positives and go, I'm lucky. I've already done the work. It's already there. What am I sooking about?
I've got another idea for you.
Yeah, share it.
You can write this down. A book idea, actually. Once you've finished your first one, your second one could be called 48 Hours of Sooking.
Yes. And what did it get for me? 48 hours of sooking. Actually, I think what happens is if people don't recognize how they feel and they try and do something else. We see it on social media all the time. I know people who are the first ones lining up at Centrelink at the moment who are posting stuff of a fake fabric lifestyle. And it's only going to end in tears mentally, I reckon. But just be real. Recognize, let your brain breathe. Take this time. You're not stuck in, if you're a corporate worker, you're saving yourself almost 2 hours a day not being in peak hour traffic. Use that time to sit and clear your mind. Let your brain learn a new skill. Read a book. Do something different. And because when this is over, and it will be over, it'll be over sooner than we think. We always say it every year. Wow. Christmas is here already. Gee, that year went fast. Christmas is going to be here pretty quick. And COVID's going to be gone. And you're going to sit back and think, what did I do? I had all that time. What did I do? Well, I watched the Michael Jordan documentary, which I will be watching the Michael Jordan documentary.
I've seen it. I've seen the first 2 last night. I watched it.
Yeah. And now, with no spoilers, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up for now.
Good.
So it's awesome.
Cool. Well, Tansel, I've taken up enough of your time. I know you've got meetings today. For anyone watching this that wants some one-on-one training with Tansel to work on memory, I know you've helped viticulturalists in the wine industry prepare for their exams. I know that you've helped business executives get control of their business, clearer thinking patterns, memory, anything that can help basically get high performance in your brain. Tansel's the guy you got to go to. How do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can contact me through my website, tanselali.com. We can just get chatting, organize a meetup time and chat from there, really. That's pretty much it. Or just read any book or go to my YouTube channel and watch some videos. There's heaps of resources out there, and that's how I started anyway. So give that a crack and maybe we can have a chat and see where you're at.
Don't sell yourself short, mate. You are a champion. And, if you want to be the best, you got to work with the best, and this guy is. And I'm not just saying that because you're on my show. I've known you for over 10 years now, 12 years. How long?
It's been a fair time.
It has been
Yeah.
a fair time since we met in that supermarket somewhere, which was a part of a TV story that we were filming, where I had to memorize a shopping list and I failed because Tansel trained Karen to be better. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Tansel, thank you so much for coming on. I think we've dropped some real value there, and if you're watching this, please share, subscribe, do whatever you do. Go and subscribe to Tansel's YouTube channel. He drops all magic bombs over there, and then it gives you an idea of what this guy can do for you, and then you'll be better for it, no doubt about it. Tansel, thanks for your friendship over the years, and thanks for appearing on the show today.
Mate, thanks for having me on, and wishing you all the success, mate. You're doing an awesome job.
And when all this lifts, we'll get together for I have peppermint tea, and you have, I don't know what you have nowadays.
I don't know. It's at the moment it's ginger and apple, so it's weird. Yeah.
You've always got some interesting tea stuff going on, haven't you?
Yep.
It's good. We'll have to make a Tansel Ali brew.
That's it. Finbali brew.
Finbali. I think you got to start that band, man. I want the first T-shirt. The T-shirt would be awesome. All right, guys. Tansel, thank you, mate.
Thanks, man.
Peace out.
See ya. Bye.